Take another photograph and document a life that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful people, and welcome back yet again to Talkin Guff podcast with me, your host, Ruben Django Pouch. Mashallah alaikum, brothers and sisters. What's going on in the world? I will just say quickly that we're at this episode 55. I mean, technically, that's another milestone. I'm taking every time we go 5 episodes, I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back. Let me just check something. We're good. So look, let's get straight into it. We'll fucking talk about a few tidbits. Is it tidbits or tidbits? A bit of tit. But we spoke last week about the Maui fire, the wildfires in Maui, and look, we covered it all, or we covered it in some detail, I will say. But I just wanted to touch back because I keep seeing just little follow-up bits and bobs with regards to that situation, okay? And the first of those is that I had said before that like this will potentially be hijacked to meet some nefarious government-aided corporate ends. You know what I'm saying? And there is already talk, and again, the world we live in, it's so hard to tell like what's true and what's not true. It does seem that there's not a whole lot of media coverage from inside Lahaina because it's on total fucking lockdown still. And so the point I'm making is that I have to take the word of people from the area who I see communicating via the internet. I suppose I have to take that on board to some degree. And one thing that is being said is that, and we've seen this, it's just like there's going to be emergency powers, proclamations, etc., put in place to deal with this situation, and the end game of that situation is that potentially people won't be able to go back to where they are from Lahaina, because and again, as far as I know, there are mad water rights legislation in place in Hawaii. There are land rights legislation in place in Hawaii, as far as I'm aware, because it's native to some degree. Do you know what I mean by that? And so there are preservation orders and things in place that are there to serve the natives and normal everyday people from Maui, etc., etc. And those things are going to be overridden by emergency proclamations, and it's going to be like you're and I said this before, it's like there's a dereliction order almost. That's an unsafe place. Your home, where you had your home, that's unsafe. And so we're going to fast track some sort of planning permission to get houses built, and they're going to be built pro bono by these land developers, and we're going to what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. We're going to move you, essentially, relocate you to these new places. And that won't be acceptable, I assume, to the locals in Lahaina. And I just said that last week. I just said I'm pretty sure that corporate interests, with the help of the government, are going to fuck people on this one, and there's going to be legislation put in place that makes it difficult for people to return to their homes. And it seems like that, in fact, is happening. And we've seen that during COVID, where it's just like, now we do whatever the fuck we want because it's an emergency. We're going to enact emergency powers and just do whatever the fuck we want. We're going to freeze your bank account. We're going to insist that you stay at home. We're going to insist you stay 2 kilometers from your house at all times. All of this sort of shit, right? And you can say, well, we had to do that. And the argument is beside the point. It's just like, it's very dangerous waters, where it's just like, anytime there's an emergency, the establishment can just say, now we are going to fuck you and we're going to do it for your benefit, but really what's happening is they're benefiting other financial and political elites, you know? And it looks like things like that could potentially be happening in Maui. Another thing that's happening over there is that Hawaii and Electric are getting sued, and they're getting sued by a group of people, and the prosecutors wanted to become a class action lawsuit. And as far as I understand, a class action lawsuit is on behalf of multiple persons, a group of people. Like when towns are suing corporations for polluting the waterways, those are class action lawsuits. That's my understanding, right? And the prosecutor in question is seeking from the courts or a grant, basically, to turn this into a class action lawsuit, because they also want to sue other people for not maintaining the like there was telecommunications companies apparently had tethered too many wires, you know, for their fucking phones and internet to the poles, and some of them were top heavy and vulnerable by default or as a result, you know what I mean? And so there's also, they want to maybe potentially sue a couple of telecommunications companies, and also private landowners who didn't. And this is where I got a little bit like, whoa, watch that now, because it was private landowners for some maintenance issue and also for growing like highly flammable vegetation, which seems like that's totally ridiculous now. But the thing about it is that, or some part of it that was interesting, was that Hawaiian Electric's defence is that the fire that destroyed Lahaina isn't the fire that started as a result of down power lines. A second fire started 6 hours after they had turned the power off. That was the one that was devastating to Lahaina. Now, I don't know anything about that, but I just thought that was interesting, because we've seen the videos of the supposed or proposed start of the fire when the guy is videoing from his home or wherever, from the side of the road, the downed power lines, right? And so I just thought it was interesting that part of Hawaiian, because that's why they're being sued, because they hadn't turned off the power in the midst of a storm warning, right? And then their defence as well, no, actually, the fire that fucking destroyed Lahaina started after 8 or so hours after that point, and 6 hours after they had turned off the power. So that was mad, huh? Another thing about the Maui situation, and surely everyone's seen it, is the Oprah Winfrey and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, doing a PSA, I suppose, appealing to people for donations for a charity which they've set up in order to aid the people of Maui. And it's so rotten. It's so like fucking fake and disingenuous, and The Rock has got his arm around Oprah Winfrey, and we're meant to believe that these are caring, compassionate human beings. I mean, the fucking Rock is some Polynesian to some degree, isn't he? Like, and I'm just like going, these are she's worth €2.5 billion dollars, and he's worth 800 million. And between their friends, Ellen DeGeneres and all these other fucking media tycoons and actors, etc., there must be an abundance of wealth in the tens of billions between just the people on their phone contacts list, probably, right? And they're pledging $10 million, and they're seeking or appealing to the general public for more donations. And obviously there's been backlash to that, because the people are making that point. It's like, you could fucking get $1 billion together if you wanted, without, you know, breaking the bank for any one of you and any one of your mates. And you're appealing to people living in a house or in a cost of living crisis. I fucking hate that term. But you've got people living in a cost of living crisis, and you're appealing to them. You're pulling on the heartstrings of those people for donations, when you could realistically just fucking sort this shit out straight away. And apparently, like, when the fires were going, Oprah Winfrey hired a private fire brigade or crew of lads to fucking just keep dousing the land surrounding her, as they keep sodding or wetting the land, you know, on the perimeter of her land, in order to keep her land totally fine. And obviously that's great if you can do that, if you've got the resources to do that. And here's another thing, that mightn't even be true. But what was I going to say there? Oh yeah, and then this is another thing, and again, I tried to find out if this was true, and it's tricky. It seems like the explanations are grey to some degree. It's certainly not black and white. Someone is claiming, or people are claiming, that The Rock and Oprah Winfrey haven't even donated the money. They're pledging the money. And that's why they're appealing to normal everyday people, because they expect to generate the $10 million through normal working class everyday people. And once that is fulfilled, then their pledge has been fulfilled and they don't even have to donate any money. That I can't confirm or deny that accusation. How about that? But can anyone out there? And it's interesting because we do know, like, for instance, that all these philanthropists, these billionaire philanthropists who are masters at the accumulation of wealth, and they tell us that we give it all away. Bill Gates gives it all away and all, and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they've all set up these, and they're not charities. They're LLCs and other, some DAFs or some other weird little holdings accounts. And if you've got a fucking like top of the range financial advisor who knows the tax code back to front, they fill you in on this shit. Obviously, it's the billionaire club. It's just like, what do you want to do, Mark? Right? Is you want to take all your money and put it into this thing, and you say, you pledge that money to charity, or you say, I am potentially going to donate this money to charity, so I want to safeguard it. Now, you can still use that money, like an account, and invest and take out and spend at will, but it is not subject to the same tax liability as just general money, right? And so it's a crafty little way, basically, of enjoying the tax benefits of a charity without actually having to give any of your money away. You're never obliged, even though you reap the benefits of being charitable, you never actually are obliged to donate that money. You just might. And so we just want to keep it safe, just in case I decide to give it all away. It's absolute bullshit. And I said before, like, Bill Gates becomes a fucking it becomes exponentially wealthier as soon as he gives all his money away. It's like, it's right there in black and white. And so I've probably gone off topic here a little bit, but I suppose the fact of the matter is that if you, like, Oprah Winfrey's got $2.5 billion, I don't trust that she has any like real care. Like I said, yeah, well, maybe I'm wrong. I just think like I said, those people are masters at accumulating wealth, and I find that they're the people least likely to give it away, even though they say they do. You know what I mean? Because another thing is like, oh, well, I was inspired. Oprah Winfrey was inspired by the fact that Dolly Parton had, in the same circumstances, there was a wildfire in whatever part of America that Dolly Parton is from, and it destroyed X amount of homes. She gave fucking bank to a load of locals for their homes. Bank. Dolly Parton on her own. Then Oprah was like, I was inspired by this. And we were texting, and it's just so obviously fake and acted. She's like, and we were, what did I say? I said, we got to do something like this. Oh, it's just like, bleh. And I fucking hate The Rock. He's a creep, that guy. I'm sorry, I used to love him. He's a total creep. And so's Oprah Winfrey. Just look at it. They're gross, fucking slithery snakes. Oh yeah, right. She was inspired by Dolly Parton and how she played it, and this was some time ago. But it's just like going, that's the only thing that made you join the dots. Like, you own 2,000 acres on an island that has been devastated by wildfires. The locals, the community of that island, have had their homes absolutely destroyed. They've nothing, not a pot to piss in. You have $2.5 billion in the bank, and the only thing that made you think that you should probably give these people some money is the fact that Dolly Parton did it years ago. You're a fucking retard then. Like, honestly, what the absolute fuck? Like, I wonder what I could do to help. You fucking dope. We gotta do something like this. Yeah. Creeps. Anyway, I seen a thing there, because obviously there was an Indian moon mission. I meant to ask me mate Babu. There was an Indian moon mission, right? And I seen this guy say, how come it took... And this blew my mind, because obviously I don't know anything about this shit, but he was like, how come it took the Indian space mission 40 days to go around the moon's orbit, or go to the moon and back, but it took Apollo 11 4 days, And I was just like, what? That's not true. And maybe actually someone else said it to me. That I seen this thing, I was like, fucking hell. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, really? And so I Googled it all and I was like, like the space, like the SpaceX, fucking whoever, you name it, no one goes as fast as the proposed speed of the Apollo missions. Those motherfuckers, Apollo 11, it is Apollo 11, isn't it? That went to the moon. Those motherfuckers apparently were traveling 25,000 miles an hour. Like, when I read that, I was like, fake news, 100%, obviously. Oh, Jesus. 25,000 miles an hour. Like, surely it would be impossible for any vehicle or human being within to survive that. That's insane. No? What do you think? And am I right in saying it's like everyone's like going, oh, how come we don't just go back and land on the moon? And they're going, oh, we lost the technology. Is that true? Or did I just have that? Was that a dream or some sort of psychotic weed episode where I thought that to myself? I thought I was sure that they were just like, the reason we don't go back and land on the moon is because we lost that technology. We can't remember sort of how we did it. 25,000 miles an hour? Yeah, right. Did anyone see the thing about the Yakutu tribe in Peru, Peruvian tribe, the Yakutu, who were fucking going on a mad one because they said 7 foot fucking green goblins from Spider-Man flying around on hoverboards were attacking them, tried to kidnap a 15-year-old girl and all. And there was like, shit footage, but there was something, there was something going on. And obviously, like, they're fucking absolutely going mental. They've got the heebie-jeebies over this thing. And what the fuck? That's mad, isn't it? And then they were like, right, it's I can't remember what the first couple of things they were saying it probably was, but then some investigative team went down there and were like, oh, it's bandito fucking miners, and I don't mean kids, going around on fucking hoverboards, like with jetpacks, trying to scare the locals, give them the heebie-jeebies so they fuck off and they can mine the shit out of their land and all. And it's been on, we've seen this before and all. I was just like going, what? That's bullshit. Like, at the very least, if it's some human thing, like, where the fuck are these bandito miners getting hoverboards and jetpacks and apparently, like, full body fucking, like, Marvel armor? That's mad, isn't it? Some lad told me to check that out, and that's all. And it was just like, yeah, no, it was just that. And everyone's like, oh, okay. It's like, surely it's not that. Surely it's not fucking, like, dopes. Just lads fucking, like, people digging shit out of the ground. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, surely you have to be a highly trained fucking, like, new gen military dude to be flying around on a fucking hoverboard with a full suit of fucking Green Goblin body armor on you. Anyway, because people are like going, oh, the reason they made all this alien shit, like, that it's a thing now. Like, it's almost like, oh yeah, aliens do exist, even from an establishment narrative and all. It's just like, the reason they are like that is because there's gonna be, and this is obviously like total tinfoil hat shit. Like, and I'm not saying I believe this, but imagine, right? They're going, the tinfoilers are going, yeah, because they're going to stage a big fucking holographic alien invasion that's gonna look like so fucking real, and it's just gonna wrangle everyone into this absolute terrified state of fucking hysteria, and that's it, we're done. That's when it's just like dun 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 dun. So look, let's talk about how Trump-a-rooney, Donald J. Trump, and his mugshot, right? Did everyone see the mugshot? Listen, this is going to be an unpopular thing for me to say, but he looked badass. I thought he looked badass. I'm going to get that t-shirt just to annoy people with the mugshot on it. It's already on. There's so millions of them. I'm getting one just to rile people up. But the thing about that mugshot... And I'm going to say this now in the interest of full disclosures. The next couple of things I'm going to talk about, I was watching Russell Brand talk about them, and then I was sort of following a couple of parts up of that myself and having to think about it myself. And I know someone, a friend of mine, was criticising me sort of for rehashing things I'd seen on Russell Brand or Joe Hogan. But another friend of mine was like, no, I like that, your hot take on hot takes or whatever. And so look, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. And like the Trump mugshot is the first one of them. And what I'm going to say now, I definitely heard on Russell Brand, but it's just like, because it seems it has made Trump even more popular amongst the people who support Trump. And apparently, according to what I saw on Russell Brand, I think the day after or the day of or within very close proximity to the mugshot becoming public, they had their best sort of financial engagement with the public since the campaign trail started. They raised $4.5 million or something like that in one day, which was like the day after the mugshot came out, because people are like more enthusiastic or more enthused to support Donald Trump. You know, it's made him more fucking popular. And obviously then CNN were going on about they were going mad about this these polls, like the latest polling showed Joe Biden at 39%, and the women on the view were just like that. But I don't understand this, because I mean, look at Donald Trump. He's out of shape. And I think he has got cognitive issues. And then it's just like the fact that 75% or something like that of Americans think Joe Biden's unfit for purpose, right? And like, this is going to go down, obviously, in history. Something is going to have to come from the fact that this guy is fucking totally off the reservation. He hasn't got a fucking clue where he is, and everyone can see it. And now everyone mightn't admit to seeing it, but no one could look at Joe Biden consistently and go, yeah, look at that, he's a top man, he's who I want running the situation. Like, that guy's like, and people are like, I feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for that cunt. Fuck him. He's a fucking rotter. And the fact, and I mean, like, he doesn't know where he is. I wonder if he even, like, he obviously knows he's president of the United States. And you ever see him lose the rag with people a bit? Because there was this thing where people were just like, fuck Joe Biden. And Barack Obama was talking at some rally and it's just like, fuck Joe Biden. And he's like, hey guys, come on, let's talk about this. Come on, hey, brother, come on, hey. And it's just like, fuck Joe Biden. And he can't do anything. It's just washing over him. And he's like, you can see how frustrated he is. And the same thing happens with Joe Biden himself. He tries to get all like, hey, shirty, and sit down. And I seen him having a go with another lad in some video as well. Like, he gets a bit aggro. He's a rotter. I know it. He's a malevolent human being. And the fact that he's totally gone is just one of the most shocking parts of contemporary history, basically. Political history. It's just like, there's a guy who's not like, we thought George Bush was insane back in, like, out of his mind in 2002 or whatever. But I mean, come on. Holy shit. Anyway, we'll get back to the Trump thing, because, and another reason I think this is making Trump more popular, this whole rigmarole, is that, let me ask you a question, the people out there, is, who do you think these indictments look worse on? Do you think the fact that Donald Trump has been indicted now 4 times, and the first 3 indictments were just like, nothing, that's bullshit, gone. And so who does that look bad on? Does it look bad on Donald Trump, or does it look bad on the establishment who are executing these indictments? I think it looks bad on the establishment, but I mean, I'd like to know what other people think, because like, if this next indictment just turns out to be a load of bullshit again, then I mean, the jig is up. These are fucking, this is bullshit, like, and I would, yeah, like I said, I'd just be interested to know whether or not people think that is if that looks good for Donald Trump, the fact that he keeps being indicted and they keep turning out to be not really indictable, or does it look bad for him? And I reckon, who knows? He could be going to jail on bullshit, or he could be getting fucking assassinated as well. Like, that would not surprise me in the least. Just like, Donald Trump has been shot and killed, and done. Does anyone else think that that's a possibility that he'll end up in jail, or assassinated? Let me know in the comment section. Another thing that I seen, and I was watching more of it then after the fact, was just like Viktor Orban was interviewed by Tucker Carlson. And if anyone doesn't know who Viktor Orban is, he's a bit of a nut, I'm pretty sure. He's the prime minister or whatever, president, whatever they call it, in Hungary. And he's the guy who was putting like pigs' heads on the fences around the border. They're staunchly anti-immigration in Hungary. And he was the guy putting fucking pigs' heads on the borders on spikes to fucking ward off the Muslims. And apparently, because I tell you, right, my other brother, and I must ask him about this, and I meant to bring him back actually, but my other brother was saying, my brother worked in Hungary because he's worked in a development government role for a long time, if that's the right term to use, but or development politic role, like, you know, and he was in Hungary, and as I might, this might be bullshit, but in my head I have it that he worked for an NGO in Hungary that was funded by George Soros, right? And as a result, Viktor Orban fucked him out. He was exiled to Vienna along with his Hungarian counterparts working for the NGO. Oh, gone. Get the fuck out. And I might be wrong about that, but my brother definitely did work in Hungary and was thrown out by Orban. And the only bit I'm 100% or not 100% on is the Soros NGO bit, whether it was funded by Soros. But like, he would say, I'm pretty sure my brother would say that guy's a fucking nutcase, you know. And apparently he plays on like some football team, just like fucking Bray Wanderers. He plays on, like, you know what I mean, and goes, and he's got like all the lads come down, cheer him on, Viktor Orban. He's hugely popular, I believe. But that's mad, isn't it, that he goes down and plays like Sunday football for Bray Wanderers, the equivalent. But he was saying, like, obviously he has a relationship with Putin. I'm pretty sure it's a good relationship. At the same time, there were times where he alluded to the fact that he doesn't always agree with Putin. But he was saying that there is no way Russia is going to lose this war. That if we think there's going to be some like surrender situation on the part of Russia, you're fucking dreaming. And obviously I would tend to agree with that. And I think he says, or this would be a point of mine if it wasn't a point of his, that like they're just way too no, in fact he does say this, I'm pretty sure. They're just way too heavily invested in that situation. Like it's Ukraine. They're not fucking around here. And we think like there is a historic relationship between Russia and Ukraine, and I don't see Putin relinquishing that to NATO, right? And another thing that Orban definitely says, like, you don't know what you're fucking with, man. You're talking about the Russians here. Their whole thing isn't like freedom and the greatest country on planet Earth. Their whole thing is like Mother Russia. And keeping Mother Russia together. And like, that's hard line. Whether they're left, right, you know, liberal or conservative, everyone is of that mindset. Within the political sphere and military sphere of Russia, the number one or the determining factor always is keeping Russia together. Strong. Mother Russia. So, and he said, and Orban's like, you won't beat that. You know what I mean? You're going to beat that. And so I'd like to know what everyone else thinks. Do you think Russia, and like, I'm no expert, and just because Orban said that doesn't mean that he's right and I think he's right or whatever the fuck, but I do think that's right anyway, but I might be wrong because I'm not an expert. And so what does anyone else think? Comment in the comment section, for the love of God. And the other thing is that he says that if Donald Trump was president, this would be over tomorrow. And obviously that's a thing Donald Trump says all the time. 24 hours. Just 24 hours. And he'd have it done. You know what I mean? He'd just be like, look, we're going into peace talks or we're going fucking to the hilt with Ukraine. And you don't want that, bro. And apparently, like, all Russia, apparently Russia would be willing to accept terms, and those terms would be based on roughly on the Minsk Accord, you know what I mean, where the expansion of NATO has to stop. There has to be a fucking a line where it just stops, and it certainly doesn't start to encompass countries like Ukraine, etc., right? And if America stopped pumping money into this situation, that it would be over. And so, by default, via military aid, they are, and we've said this a fucking million times, America's just perpetuating this situation. Why would they do that? I believe they would do that to facilitate or to further bloat the industrial military complex. Okay? And a thing that was said in the Russell Brand thing I was watching, that a person, and I should really be better than this, but I'm not. I'm sorry. Like, as in so far as I should have the information, but but basically it's like in America there are two people communicating like openly via the media and shit like this, that this is great. We are getting a great return on our investment in the Ukraine, right? And obviously one of those returns is that they're further enriching the companies that are the industrial military complex. They're making even more money yet again from the perpetuation of death and destruction, right? And all that, and we said this last time, it's like all that, any of that money that they're giving to the Ukraine, in spite of, instead of giving it to the people of Maui, all that money is capable of is killing people. And it turns out that there's like fucking 500,000 Ukrainian and Russian soldiers dead since the start of this thing. 500,000. And the idea that some guy's going, that's a good return, while making money off that, that's sociopathic. Surely, if we are who we say we are in this fucking progressive 21st century, surely, as human beings, we should say that is unacceptable, my friend. And you've communicated that to us, and that is unacceptable, so you are now gone. You're fucking gone. I don't care where you put him, but he is no longer going to reap the benefits of fucking death, destruction, and misery. That's fucking gross, man. And say what you will about the situation, people are like, yeah, well, that's Putin's fault. And it's not. It's far more nuanced than that. There is far more going on behind the scenes that we've been through before that we don't necessarily have to get into now. But another way in which America see this as a good return for their investment is that there is no American deaths, right? And that's so insidious and sociopathic in its own nature, because it's just like going, maybe we're gonna have to stop doing all this war shit and fucking killing normal people, or we might have to stop doing this because there's so much pressure from the people of our country to stop these wars, because they're sick of seeing their sons and daughters coming home in fucking body bags. What are we gonna do about that? We might we're just gonna fucking go mad proxy on this shit, and we don't give a fuck, as long, and that's the fucking, there it is, right? Because like, you don't give a fuck about human life, because the only reason you're not going to war yourself is because you're gonna get it in the neck off the public about the deaths of fucking American servicemen and women, and so you just figure out a way to exploit another war that killed 500,000 fucking soldiers on both sides in fucking whatever it is, less than 2 years or a year or some shit. I can't even remember at this stage. And so that's another way in which it's a good return for their investment. And another way is that it's depleting their enemy. And that's Vladimir Putin. And I think we're just going to put a pin in that for a second. They're depleting their enemy, Vladimirovich Putin, right? And just saying, and we'll get back to that now in a sec, because it's going to tie in maybe potentially what we're doing here. But another part of that Russell Brand thing was like, Macron is talking about how, and obviously here's the thing, it's like, Orban thinks that if Trump was in power, the war would be over. Certainly America's involvement in said war would be over, right? And now it seems that even Macron and his stooges and shills for the WEF and all them heads, them new progressive leaders, they probably think the same, because they are now increasing their production of weapons in preparation for Donald Trump becoming president and de-escalating American involvement in said war. They're just like, we're gonna make that's gonna be bad, because then this can no longer be our cash cow. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna make the weapons. We're gonna pump this military aid via NATO and the European NATO member states into the Ukraine. So it's like going, he's not gonna lose, and all that can happen is that just another 500,000 people die, and another 500,000 people, and another 500,000 people. It's fucking insane. And why? Like, who signs off on this shit? Who is signing off on European Union countries expanding their production and development of weapons just in case America won't do it anymore? Like, you know, what's going on? Because if someone asked me if that's what I wanted, European tax money to be spent on, I'd be like, no, of course not. Of course I don't want that. Why would I want that? Anyway, we put this pin in this thing, right? Because there's another lad who said something like, I can't remember. But even then, like, so the whole emphasis is on Putin is the de facto enemy of what? The whole of Europe and America. And I was just like to myself, when did this happen? And how did it happen? When 20 years ago, England, France, the rest of the coalition countries, along with the United States of America, went in and killed more Iraqis than Saddam Hussein. They went in and generated $1 trillion off the fucking fighting the Taliban, just to fucking leave everyone in the absolute shits and leave all them weapons there for the Taliban. They fucking destroyed Syria and Libya and fucking like Yemen. And on and on and on. They've been dropping fucking bombs on sovereign nations every day for 20 years. Right? And they've been expanding NATO. We've been allowing America to pump money or military equipment and aid, basically hardware, etc., into Europe. Why? If anyone asks me, are you down with that? Do you want that to be the thing? What? Do you want America to pump a load of fucking hardcore weapons into mainland Europe? No, of course not. Of course I don't want that. I don't want anything to do with anything like that. And I'm pretty sure if you actually ask most normal, ordinary people out there, they tell you the same fucking thing. In the whole of Europe, do you want that? No. Right? And so, like, I'm not trying to disavow the idea that Putin's a thug and a criminal and has invaded a sovereign nation of his own, but it's just like going, the West has been doing that for fucking 20 years, like, to a serious degree. Obviously, it's been going on for fucking since the dawn of man. But just take the last 20 years even to account. We've been fucking shitting all over countries all over the world. And abusing and flaunting another superpower's borders. Like, what the fuck would happen, like I said before, if Mexico or Canada started encroaching upon the borders of America? There'd be fucking all out, like, holy war. And we're told, like, Putin's the bad guy, and what about those poor Ukrainians? And I was like going, exactly, man. This is the fucking most fucked up part about it. It's just like going, those poor Ukrainian people who apparently we've given our hearts and minds to by putting a photo of the Ukrainian flag on our Instagram or on the profile picture of our social media accounts, they are being used as fodder, as fucking collateral damage in the fucking accumulation of wealth. That's what's happening there. Those people are being murdered for money. That's it, and it's totally fucked up. Let's move on. Seen a thing, an article, and I'm just going to read the headline here and then talk about it. New plan to get more of us living apartment life. Great, I can't wait for that. State to become a major player in building homes. 20,000 tax-free plan for renter rooms, bid to beat institutional investors, right? I'm having a hard time with my mark shit, man. Everything I say, she just insists upon playing devil's advocate to whoever it is. You know what I mean? So in this situation, I said, that's bollocks, isn't it? I'm living apartment life. I was like, I'm not mad on living in an apartment. She was like, well, that's what they do all over Europe. And I was like going, yeah, but you're talking like 2 apartments to a floor, fucking expansive, like proper living facilities for families, not 3-bedroom dog boxes stacked on top of each other up on the Southern Cross. You know what I mean? It's not the fucking same thing. And again, it's just like, there's loads of wealth. Like, there's fucking money dripping out of everywhere, but it's just in the control of a finite group of people, even in this country. And I just think it's just like, here's another way, and we get to lower the standard for normal everyday people. You know what I mean? Like, it should be relative to our environment. And I just think that this is another way where we can just like not actually address the core root value or root issue, which is like, I suppose what I'm trying to say is the core issue of these situations, same with the energy crisis and all, for me, is that you don't want to actually deal with what's really creating the problem, and that usually is someone with loads of money abusing the situation to make more money. You don't want to deal with that. You just want to lower the standard the whole time. You know, we got to fucking have these energy saving hacks. We got to live in apartments. We got to, like, it's always on us. It's never on them. The solution is never on those mates of yours and all. And that's what pisses me off. Here's the interesting part about this shit, right? I read through this article a couple of times, and there's a suite of tax measures to incentivise apartment living are being prepared alongside the state's plan to become a major player in building apartments. I had said a good while ago, why isn't the government identifying pieces of land and building and paying Irish-based contractors to build houses on those lands? You're creating jobs through the construction of those homes. You're creating homes that you own, not homes that you're leasing off private landlords for 30 years. You know what I mean? Private investment firms and development companies, development corporations, stuff like this. You're leasing those buildings or dwellings, homes, apartments, houses, etc. off those motherfuckers for more than you'd have to pay to build them. Twice as much, potentially. And you won't ever own them. So that's what our tax dollars are paying for, a situation where someone makes loads of money off this crisis, and at the end of it, we don't even own the thing we've been paying for this whole time. Like the state, you know what I mean? And we are the state. Don't forget that. But one thing that they talk about in this article is an agency called the Land Development Agency, and I'm under the impression that it's a government-based agency, right? And if you Google LDA, Land Development Agency, the first thing that comes up, or one of the first things that I saw that came up for me on the feed, was affordable housing at Archer's Wood. And that's over there by the Farnkelly Road, I'm pretty sure, behind Delgany. Archer's Wood, affordable housing. And this is where I'm confused, right? Because you're the developer, and so are you the government? I can't really understand if it's a semi-state or state body, or not, in fact, tied to the state or beholden to the state in any way. But I suppose they must be connected to the state if the state are going to become a major player in building homes, and they're going to do this via the Land Development Agency. That's my understanding of the situation. And like I said, when I first googled the Land Development Agency after reading this article, first thing that came up was Archer's Wood affordable housing. You click into that, and a 1-bedroom apartment on the affordable housing list of Archer's Wood is €1,300 a month. And for me, let's break that down. What are we talking? $325 a week? Am I right there? And yeah, I believe so. And obviously, if you're stacking shelves in Tesco, that's not affordable. I pay child maintenance, so I look after my ma a bit. or at least I pay my way, should I say, here and pay rent, etc. It's certainly not affordable for me, and I have an alright fucking job. You know what I mean? And potentially if some of the parameters of my circumstances were different, that wouldn't be the case. But at the same time, I can tell you now that I have an above minimum wage job, and I don't think I could afford to pay 325 quid a week as for a 1-bedroom apartment. That's the other thing. Like, we're human beings. We understand perceived value for money. That is not for me. My perception of that situation is not value for money. That's value for money. That's not my perception. So for me, there is no perceived value for money there to pay €1,300 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. Anyway, I would love to talk to someone who knew more about this, because it's hard, it's tricky to navigate via the internet. I was trying to Google certain words or whatever, but to my understanding from this article, the Land Development Agency, it definitely says that they already have, I can't find it there, but they already have 13,000 homes in the pipeline. And that those homes were going to be developed on land that was acquired for €8 billion. And I assume then, if it was acquired by the Land Development Agency, it was acquired by the state to the tune of €8 billion to build 13,000 homes. You better do the fucking maths on that, my friend. Because here's another thing. Furthermore, in that article is that there's this discussion or there are talks in place within the government to grant a further €7 billion investment into the LDA to get this shit sorted. And like, look, I might have this totally wrong, but as far as I can tell, that means that they're going to spend €15 billion to build 13,000 homes. And it definitely says that the 13,000 homes which are in the pipeline are being built on land acquired for $8 billion. Definitely says that in the paper. And it definitely says that there is a discussion in place as whether or not to grant a further $7 billion to sort this shit out. That would mean, like I said, $15 billion for 13,000 homes. Like, Jesus Christ, that boggles the mind, doesn't it? God damn. And if that's not and like I said, I said that to my mum. She's like, that's not true. I said, well, look, it says there and there, and what do you think? And she's like, I don't know, I'd have to look into that. I said, well, I'm just asking you, it's in the paper, like. Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, and this is what she said, and I love my mum to death, but I just wanted to fucking give her such a box in the face. She was like, the problem with your generation, I was talking about this with my friend, I can't remember what her name was, like, you know, oh, don't get me started. But it was just like, your generation used this whole situation as an excuse to you know, to not pull yourself up by your bootstraps, essentially, is what you're saying. I just felt like, oh, you better get the fuck away from me. Because if the implication there is that I don't work hard, you know, these nuts. Anyway, anyone out there who's familiar with the land, because here's the other thing, is the Land Development Agency, to me it looks like they're out there buying land off basically off lads who have loads of land, and it's even more advantageous. If I had land to sell, it would be even more advantageous to me if I had land with planning permission on it. And like, as far as I'm aware, and this could be wrong, but historically speaking, I think the ways in which they have dealt with, like, and I'm going back centuries here, the ways in which they've dealt with, like, property or housing crisis, land crises, etc., is to impose land taxes. If you're fucking holding a load of land, we're going to impose a land tax. So it's no longer advantageous to you to hold on to that piece of land, and you should sell it, because we need to free up land for commerce, homes, properties, etc., right? And this looks like a sort of neo-corrupt version of that. Because it's like, oh, we have this Land Development Agency. It's an agency set up by the government to, like, really do something about the problem and identify and acquire land to build homes for people who need them. But then it's like, when I look at it, when I read between the lines of that situation, I feel, now this is an agency that basically pays billions to private landowners in this country, especially. So if I'm a developer, I've got a piece of land, and even better, I've got the planning permission on it. Why would I build houses on it and get like 500 G's a gaff? And like, and what's my profit after I've built the fucking house and all? What's my profit margin on that? So that, you know, if Jesus Christ, man, even just saying it out loud is mind blowing. It's like, if I'm a land developer and I've got planning permission on land, I got two options. I don't know how much it costs to fucking build a house, right? But let's just say I can only sell these gaffs for fucking 600-700 grand. The most I'm gonna make out of that surely is like 200-300 grand a gaff. I don't even know. I'm talking out my arse potentially. But what I do know is that if you do the maths on 15 billion, it's just like, well, I could just fucking not have to do anything, not put any money into the construction of or the development of properties here, and I get like fucking millions, tens, hundreds of millions. No, forget about it. It's a total fucking farce. At a glance. Anyone out there knows more about it, let me know. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But you better fucking tell me why I'm wrong. Don't be just like, you're wrong. I tell you, right? What day is it? Saturday. I went to Electric Picnic, actually 2023, and it's Saturday. It's the Saturday after. Yeah, it's the Saturday after Electric Picnic, and I went because I have a friend who is a food vendor at these sort of things, and he's been doing it years. I think he's done all right for himself, but he's a fucking hard worker, and he had an idea, or he saw that something could work, and he believed in it, and he stuck with it, and he operated, and he bished, and he bashed, and he boshed, and now he makes a living out of it. So fucking kudos to him, and he's fucking sound. But he goes all the time. He's got a really popular food concession. And I was like, look, I've after booking the time off because I'd like to come down and work. And I've done it a couple of times, worked with him a couple of times on his fucking unit. And it's good crack for multiple reasons. And he's been doing the festivals since God's time. Like, and here's the thing, right? It's just that I've been to Electric Picnic loads of times. I used to play in a band and we were really popular. I've said that loads of times on the podcast. But as a result of that, we went to like maybe 10 festivals every summer. It was fucking gas crack. I absolutely loved it. In fact, the very first festival I went to was Witness. The second year it was on, I might have been 17, and my granny had just died, and we were given money to go and buy tickets, me and my cousin, to go to Witness. And like, I couldn't conceptualize what it was going to be like. And obviously I was mad for partying, you know, and taking mood enhancers and all. But when I got there, I was just like, this is fucking heaven on earth. This is unbelievable, man. This is amazing. I can't believe a situation, a dynamic like this exists. I'm home. And so, like I said, I've been going. I would go to a couple of festivals a year, you know, when I was a punter. But when I was in a band and we were getting to play these festivals, I was going to maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a year, right? And having the absolute lols for myself. I will say that much. So yeah, that's my sort of experience with regards to... the point I'm trying to make is that my mate has been fucking grinding it out at these festivals and other places for years. And so look, I said, look, I'm coming down. So I went down. On a Friday, left Delny at about 11 o'clock, brought a couple of Brasileiras who work for my friend down with me, and a colleague of mine from the restaurant, a young Padawan, because he was going down for a bit of a rip roar, you know. And so we get there about 3 o'clock. Traffic was a bit shit by the time we got to like the peripheries of the event. Get in there. Staff parking looks nice. Staff campsite nice. Got showers. Got good jacks. All that shit, right? But my mate Hook, who played bass in the band, the Cujo family that I was in, he was playing in a band, and I might have mentioned this when I talked about the gig that I did recently, but he's playing in this sort of super group almost of like fucking really bona fide musicians who play in multiple bands and have, you know, done loads of things, and they're really fucking tight and tidy musicians, right? And they were banging out a load of fucking belters there at that gig I was at a month ago, and I loved it. Thought it was great. Steve Ward, much too much for the city. So that band, they call themselves the Salty Dog All Stars because the Salty Dog is the stage that they're all affiliated with. You know, Liam Mulvaney, who produced and recorded and mixed the Cujo Family's second album, he runs a lot of stages at Electric Picnic, and the genesis of that situation was running the stage, the Salty Dog, and that's how we used to play Electric Picnic quite often because we were in there. Nepotism. Sorry, but anyway. Long story short, they were playing in its entirety. That band were going to play in its entirety the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And so I was like, I'm going to that. And I went down to that as soon as I got there. And I'll just say this first and foremost, it was fucking brilliant. And I've said this to Hook since on a couple of occasions that it was really good. It was like the best thing I've seen all weekend. It was tight as fuck. It was fucking obvious that everyone was really enjoying it and like on it. And the other part was like, you forget how fucking good them tunes are, man. Forget about it. Just like belter after belter. It ain't easy. It ain't easy when you're coming down. But I tell you this much. It took me a half an hour walking through Electric Picnic to get to that stage, to that gig, and I was just like, whew, I was fucking like, I was out of my comfort zone. Let's say that much, right? And I was like, I've got to get out of my head here and just get a little bit loose with it, because otherwise I'm not going to survive. You know, I'm just going to end up going back and sitting in my car, and I'm not doing that. So I was just like, have a pint, right? So I had a pint of cider. Delicious. It was fucking delicious. And I was smoking cigarettes and pinners, drinking my cider, listening to this music, and I was on flying form. Just after one pint. Now, not drunk. Just like fucking feeling it. Yeah, what's the story, man? Boom, boom, boom. Chatting. Having a crack. And then I rang these young lads who I work with who are fucking bang on. Excuse the Freudian slip. They're bang on, right? They're called Flynn and Dave. Big shout out to Flynn and Dave, right? I rang Flynn. I was like, where are you, bro? He's like, I'm up at my... and they're super... Like, they're posh, or they're, you know, they're from good stock, shall I say, but they're super down to earth, super good guys, and super hard workers, more importantly. Quick learners and hard workers. I love that. But, rang him. I was like, what's the story with you, bro? And he's like, oh, I'm just up at my campsite having a few drinks. You should come up, have a drink with us. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that if that's cool, because I'm just, you know... So I went up there and having the absolute lols with the young lads and their young mates and all, and having a few drinks, and the next thing you know, there was an bump, we'll just say that, a couple of bumps and a dab, and I was flying then, right? I was having the absolute crack. I was liquid, and like pushing the parameters of appropriate. You know what I mean? Just like in what I was saying, in the fucks and buggers, just like pushing the envelope a little bit, but staying on the right side of that for definite, and having the absolute crack of people. And then they were like, "Come on, we're gonna go in." I was like, "Yeah, fucking right, we are. And we're going in. I'm fucking buzzing now, right?" We go to see music. I don't even know what it was, but I was like, woo, and having the crack, and then even after that. Like, I was like, come on, what are we doing? My mate, at this stage, we lost Dave, and Flynn was like, look, Ruben, I got to look after me missus. She's not feeling at the moment. And I was like, oh, well, we could go to this Bacardi tent. That's where my head was at. I was like, we go to the Bacardi tent and we get her a drink. And he was like, nah, look, shalom alaikum, brother. So I was like, right, no problem. But I went to the Bacardi tent and I drank too many cocktails, too many mojitos and strawberry daiquiris, and then my mate talks to me, said, look, we're at the back of the unit here, where are you, bro? And because I wasn't rostered on for the Friday, and I blamed them motherfuckers, so I was there to work, and then they're like, no, you're not rostered on. So I was like, oh, fuck this, you know. So then that's when I decided to go to my mate's gig and all. And I was like, right, I'm going back to see them fiends, and he's got a load of Brasileiro lads and Brasileiro women working for him, and they're fucking stone mad. I'll say that much, right? Stone mad. Mad for the session, love the crack, love the banter, and work like fucking dogs for this dude, right? And he looks after them really well. But as soon as I just like pull back the fucking hoarding, straight in. Banter was 90. My mate was just like, yeah. He loves it. He loves when I'm on one, because he just like, he be winding me up, poking the bear. You know, he'd be like, "Do you hear what that lad just said about you? Them Brazilians think you're soft, Ruben. They say you can't work," and all of this. And I had a few run-ins with a couple of these boys over the years, because I was. One time he asked me to sort something out for him, because it was stuff they didn't know about. It was outside the remit of what he was doing, and I knew about it. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll come down, show the lads what to do." And they were not happy. One of them especially were not happy. And my whole thing was like, I don't give a fuck, man. You know what I mean? I don't care. I've been asked by your boss to come and sort this thing out. I'm going to fucking sort it out. And you got a problem with that, kiss me lips. And he didn't. And there was a couple of run-ins. But the other side of that is like, if you put me in your world, I'll do the subservient. Yes, chef. What do you need, chef? Yes, chef. No problem. I'll do anything. You know what I mean? Because that's the role. That's the hierarchy. That's your shit. Put me in the middle of your shit. I'm your fucking boy. I'll do what you want. No, yes, chef. No problem, chef. Yes, chef. But on the flip side of that, if the hierarchy is your boss wants me to fucking educate you on a thing that he wants, kiss me lips. Anyway, get back there, having the crack, then fucking, my mate's putting Redbreast fucking whiskey down me, and it's blackout time, right? So I wake up the next day in a caravan. In fact, at some point I was moved in the middle of the night from one caravan to the other. He's got two caravans behind his unit where people sleep, and some guy is like, "Hey bro, you're in my bed. Come on, I bring you to this other bed." I was like, wake up, fucking dehydrated, parched, feeling a bit ropey. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get away with this. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm meant to start working now. My car's a half an hour away. I said, bro, I need to go to my car. I need to get a few bits, change my shit, and have a quick shower. I'll be back in an hour. I'm sorry. No problem. By the time I get to the car, I felt like I was having a fucking stroke. Oh my God. I was just like, you know, and any fluids I drank, I was just like puking them up. I didn't know what to do. I was at fucking total 6s and 7s. It was roasting everywhere I turn. I'm in my car. I've got a little blow up mattress in the back of my estate, fucking Fabia, that's just like 12 inches too short to actually sleep in. But I got my feet sticking out the fucking open boot, and I'm just like tweaky, nauseous, rotten. Well, I'm like, I'm not gonna be bet. I'm not going home. These motherfuckers are not going to be taking the piss out of me come Monday morning, right? So I just lay in the shade of my car, like on the ground outside the car, like almost under it, and it was beautiful. And I smoked a cigarette and fell asleep for 2 hours, and I woke back up going, right, it's fucking game time. But I'm still a bit ropey. Then I had to go to work. I was there from 2 to 11 or 2 to 10, and then I was just like, I'm going back to bed. Went back to bed. Was there at 6 o'clock the next morning. Worked from 10 to 10 o'clock that night in the fucking sweltering heat in a jocker, and then I went to a gig, and then I went back to the unit for 12 o'clock. It's 24/7 in the campsite. Queues 30 deep, 40 deep, the whole fucking time. It's a really popular concession. It's like fucking hell. And at this stage, I was just like, the only way I'm going to survive is if you put me in the show. Put me in the unit. Don't have me out here doing prep and shit, because I'm fucking pretty quick and efficient at prep, so I was doing a lot of that stuff. I was like, you gotta put me in the shower or I'm done for. He's like, no, I need to do more of that prep shit out the back. And I was just like, did that for 2 hours. It's like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been here since 6. The only way I was going to survive is to get that fucking adrenaline of being in a service, and that's not happening, so I'm just going to duck out. I just snuck off, went to bed. It's rock hard work. I've done it before, but you forget. And like I said, these crew of human beings that this lad has working for him, they're fucking outrageous hard workers, and they fucking live and die for this dude, because he looks after them. He's been good to them. He's fell in with a few of them years ago, because like in the genesis of this operation that he had, there would mainly be his mates and other Bray and Wicklow, Irish heads basically, some like Spanish and Italiano and all, working the unit. And And I think it was always good. It was always popular. But when he fell in with a couple of these Brazilian lads, it just went like overdrive. They just were fucking hard workers. And they were like, this is great. Like, this motherfucker, my mate, has probably paid for more gaffs in Sao Paulo than you can shake a fucking stick at. And it's fucking really outrageously hard work. He has a fella working for him, big shout out to him, his name's José, and he fucking worked like 24, 30 hours in a row or something like this, man. And then he goes to sleep for fucking 5-6 hours, gets up and works another 30 hours just drinking beer the whole fucking time. Like, I'm not shitting you, man. I never seen a human being like that. And the rest of them are hard workers as well. Like, really hard workers. They pull down Mongo shifts, but they love it. They fucking love it. They're having a crack. They're having a few drinks and whatnot, other mood enhancers. And they're getting paid all right money. And for the most part, cash in hand probably, you know. Like I said before, I've been to Electric Picnic loads of times. And I actually even went to the first Electric Picnic as a punter 19 years ago, and I got absolutely off my gourd. I would have only been 20 years of age, and I was caught up in this fucking unrequited love story at the time that, like, fucking took a new development of fucking sadness, I suppose. Like, in real time at the fucking one day festival, I was just like, out of it. Pretty much don't remember any single part of it. But great lineup that year for the first one day event, and we'll get into that more in a few minutes. But I will say this, that, like, I've been, and so I was at the first one day one. I was at, like, a couple, if that's 19 years ago, what year is that? 2004. So I probably went to 2004, and between 2005, 2006, 2007 I went to one or two. And then 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012, all the way up to 15 maybe, I went to Electric Picnic. And all those years I went as a performer. But I've seen it 4 years, and I'm aware of how big it is and how big it's always been. And I suppose I haven't been there for a few years, maybe 3 years. But something that really dawned on me, or was apparent to me this time, was how fucking big it's gotten. It's fucking gargantuan, man. It's just so big. It's like a city. It is a city, effectively, being put in situ. A mobile city that's, you know, just... It's fucking massive. Massive. I've never seen it so big. It must now... And obviously the Stradbally estate must be fucking outrageously big as well. But yeah, like I said, I never seen it so big. And unfortunately then, I never seen it so sort of corporate and soulless. Now look, there are pockets of humanity and pockets of soul and real fucking spiritual shit going on. And no matter who you are, there is something real and visceral there for you. But it's under the umbrella, or encapsulated within, a fucking total corporate nightmare, like a fucking Vegas on, you know what I mean? It's just insane. And someone is making, Festival Republic, I suppose, who are the crowd who own it, they are making fucking bank, right? Absolutely making bank. And one thing I'll say is that my mate this year had to sacrifice 20% of his gross. 20% of everything that went into the till went to Festival Republic, right? And I'll just say this much, it's like, he has always paid a large amount for his pitch. But as a result of having to give 20% of his gross, before he pays for his food costs, before he pays for his wage costs, before he pays for insurance, before he pays for the unit itself, every single part of it, all the money he's sunk, for any of that, they get 20% right off the top before he pays tax liability. All of that comes right off the top, 20%. Bop. And as a result of that, he paid twice as much as he would have last year, and he was paying bank last year. And as a result, so it basically went from 10% to 20%, but it was never done on a percentage basis before. But there's a part of that I don't like, and I'll tell you why I don't like it. And then we get into how they're making even more money through other avenues. The reason I don't like that is because it's none of anyone else's fucking business what business I do. There are parameters. You provide the pitch, you charge me for the pitch, the water, the electricity, any other logistics, and then you can actually go and fuck yourself, right? But because Electric Picnic is cashless, and that's how they can achieve this. They turn it to cashless, right? And all of the money, if I go up and buy the product off my mate, the money doesn't go in his bank account. The money goes into Festival Republic's bank account, or whoever the person in charge of this part, the vendors, shall we say, for the festival, goes into a different bank account. It's the fucking point of what I'm trying to say. And they give it back to you less 20% in a week or something. And I'm just like, fuck that, yo. Fuck that. You joking me? I gotta give, like, even on it, it's just like, what if that country said I'm not giving it to you? Oh, you could sue them. It's an English company. You'd have to be over in England fucking fighting, pumping huge amounts of money into a fucking court case that you might win for money that you worked your bollocks off for. Anyway, that I definitely thought there was, and because the other thing, and again, like, because I'm living in the fucking real world, not propose real world problems to that scenario. It's like, you're taking all the cash out of it. Like, if I was in that position, one of the main reasons I do them is because I could probably fucking skim 20% off the top in cash for myself and not tell the fucking taxman anything about it. But now I can't do that. Now not only does some third party company know exactly how much money I made at their festival, they also, now the revenue also knows exactly how much fucking money I took in the festival, and they want their fucking pound of flesh. And like, some people might disagree with the moral root, like, value of what I'm saying, but tough shit. Loads of people would be miffed about that. Loads of people who are vendors at these things would just be like, this is killing me now. You know, the margins are fucking tight, man. Obviously, they're also, so they make fucking bank off that, the vendors, and there's fucking hundreds of them, and some of them lose their jocks 100%. But they also obviously making massive money on ticket sales. The tickets for Electric Picnic 2024 are already sold out, apparently. And so I would say there'll be a second wave of tickets closer to the event, but fuck me, and we'll talk about that now again in a minute, so pin. But the other thing is that they make savage money through, like, I know a guy who stayed, I think, in the Pink Moon glamping campsite. He paid thousands when all was said and done for his glamping and his ticket, like, thousands. Or like, him and his partner went, and it cost thousands. That's what I understand. And there's obviously however many people are there. And then they obviously have like licensing deals with Bacardi, with Coca-Cola. Mad thing. When you were needed minerals for your thing, you got on the Unify app, which I use myself in the restaurant, and you order from Coca-Cola, Fanta, Coke, and whatever the Coca-Cola affiliated water is, I can't remember. And they just send it down to you. And so obviously you pay them for that shit, but they've paid a massive licensing fee to Electric Picnic, so there's another way in which revenue has been generated. And who else did we say there? Bacardi obviously are licensing, have a massive licensing deal in place to have their tent there, and they're making fucking bank off them cocktails, because I drank more than my fair share, and I'd say everyone is. They're fucking delicious, especially in that heat, man. Just like strawberry daiquiri to the maxery. What's that say? Oh, and then obviously, like, there's loads of other people to be like, we'll get in and we'll run that thing for you, and we'll give you a concession on that, and we want to get in and run that thing for you, and we'll get a concession off that. There's fucking money being made at every single turn. Like, even I have a friend who works for a drinks company that would rival Coca-Cola in this country, right? And they have numerous products under their umbrella, you know what I mean? Oh, fuck it, who cares? I got a mate who works for CNC, right? And he was there doing Lipton. So basically, in the Jimi Hendrix campsite, there was this Lipton stand, and a big, massive stand. And they're giving away free cans, ice cold cans of Lipton Lemon and Lipton Peach, Lipton Iced Tea, and whatever. What's the word? What's the thing I'm trying to... Anyway, who knew? Lipton iced tea, the lemon, and the peach one, fucking delicious. I drank nearly a full crate of that peach one over the weekend myself. But they're giving that shit away, cans, by the hundreds, if not thousands, right? I was like, what the fuck are you? Why would you do this? And he's like, let me tell you, Rube. C&C have an equivalent for that water, for that Fanta, for that Coca-Cola. They have Pepsi, they have Club Orange, and they have another affiliated water brand, right? And so we can't bring that to this festival. But that licensing agreement is up next year. And we are willing, he told me, between the stand and the pitch and the free and he said outside, now you got to take everything this lad says with a pinch of salt, but he said outside of the stock even, they were already into it for $100,000 between the just with the pitch and the stand itself, and it did look fucking deadly and all. Like, it was really well done. And I know someone who works in marketing for an agency here. Marketing's the wrong, what's the word I'm trying to, event management. She was like, that's what we do. Like, a company comes along and says, we want to just put this fucking free stand into this thing because it's good marketing, and they spend a fortune like putting it together for them. And so he reckoned they were into it for $100,000 before they even put gave anyone a free can of Lipton, right? And a massive portion of that, he reckoned, was going towards a pitch fee, like a fucking massive portion of that $100,000. And I was like, fucking hell, well, why would you do it? Like I said, and he's like, because like they can't bring Club Orange or Pepsi or water into the festival, but they can bring Lipton, because that's not part of the license agreement that Coca-Cola has. They can bring iced tea and give it away, no fucking problem. And the reason they're doing that is because they want to get their foot in the door for when that said aforementioned licensing agreement that Coca-Cola has with Electric Picnic, when that ends next year, or at now it's up for tender again, they want in. And that's how they get their foot in the door. Spend $100,000. Fucking money being made all fucking over the place, right? And I'll say this, unfortunately, as a result of money being the sort of the definitive factor, you know, with regards to every situation at Electric Picnic, the music has suffered. And I know that, because I was there first time 19 years ago. Arrested Development, Jurassic 5, I can't remember who else. I have seen at Electric Picnic some of the absolute best gigs going. Artists like that are just not mainstream enough to go anywhere else playing at Electric Picnic. Over the years, I've seen LCD Sound System do a fucking amazing gig. I've seen Ian Brown, The Chemical Brothers, Arcade Fire, Faithless, or was Faithless at Witness actually, and I'll have to remember that. Jurassic 5, Roots Maneuver, like the Polyphonic Spree. Like, do you know what I mean? Just bands just that are fucking known worldwide, but just not quite mainstream enough to get gigs at many of these festivals. Public Enemy. I saw Public Enemy do a gig there with Terminator X, and those military motherfuckers, and some dude playing the bass notes with a fucking saxophone, a live drummer and all. It was fucking outrageous. And if I could, over the year, and I've seen just some Jimmy Cliff, saw some absolutely top music there over the years, and there's more, and there was nothing like that this year. And like the fucking Script were the headliners on Saturday night. The fucking Killers were the headliners on Sunday night. Surely neither of those bands are relative in any way, and they're what I'm pretty sure the Killers have played Electric Picnic before. It's just like, and not that you can, but it's just like, why would you get a band to headline now when you wouldn't even give them a headline spot when they were relevant? Because it's cheap, obviously. And like, I seen Kendrick Lamar at Electric Picnic, I seen the Wu-Tang Clan at Electric Picnic, loads, and just fucking, and even more like sort of slightly obscure, smaller bands than that, like just great stuff. And that part of it seems to be gone. So I'm pretty sure it was set up by John Reynolds or whoever, the pod, in opposition or as an alternative to what witness or now oxygen was becoming. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that was the whole thing, was to be more boutique music festival. And apparently those same people are now they might have been bummed in some way or another by one or the other, and Festival Republic, who like are basically like just this huge corporate entity who like have a stable of vendors, have a stable of security, have a stable of stewards, have a stable of artists, have a stable, and they just move that whole operation to different parts of England and Ireland and pull in local amenities where needed. You know what I mean? That's how they operate. And so like and the way that they do that, because it's like, well, look, we give you a whole summer of gigs, but we want it at a discount. We give you a whole summer of fucking business, but we want 20%. You know, all of this shit. And so it's become apparent, probably if you're not on drugs and drink, that it's become, and I'm not criticizing that, by all means, take drugs and drink. No better place to take drugs and drink than at a festival. But if you're not, like if you're looking at it through a totally colourless lens, it's obvious that it's just like a fucking monstrosity for making money. And I suppose that's sort of like anything, isn't it? Whenever there's a beautiful thing that's just beautiful because of what it is and people connect with it, corporate interests and entities go, we want to have that, we want to own that, so we can just fucking get the money off all them cunts. And like and you think about it yourself, there's fucking countless instances of things like that. It's like when it becomes big business, it's just like, this is shite, this is soulless, this is bullshit. It's a husk, you know what I mean, of what it was from a spiritual point of view. Did I enjoy going to Electric Picnic in 2023? I did. And I could be critical of it. I could be critical of certain aspects of it, like I have been. But also at the same time, like I said, there are pockets of people having a fucking genuinely good time for themselves on a positive, like on a positive endeavour. And like there was fucking like these idiots had a climate change stand and all, they're all sitting around on fucking hay bales. And I'm going, I don't agree with that, but they're loving it. And at least it's real. Like at least it's not like they're not flying. These cunts weren't flying around on private jets. You know what I mean? These, like, they meant it. At least they meant it. You know what I mean? And at least there's a lot. And that's the fucking strength. That's beautiful, in fact, because it's people. The people are real. And then when you meet the people, and some, I don't necessarily agree or even want to talk to some of these people, but at least they're real. You know what I mean? At least they're not just like a gaudy, glitzy stand giving away free cans so they can get in next year and make a fucking ton. There are pockets of humanity. There are real people doing real shit, and it's beautiful, you know what I mean? That can survive and flourish within the parameters of this big fucking sphere of corporate entity that's just generating loads of money. And actually, maybe that's a microcosm for the world, and it's actually a bad thing in some way. Anyway, listen, you fucking mad hearers. Wagwan. Peace and love. Mwah.
Document a life that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble past, at one with the ground, the sound